So people have told us a concept that we have shared with them in presentations and in private meetings and sessions has been really helpful for them in getting their hands around their assets and the tax implication on those assets, so they can really have more confidence about their assets, helping them provide an income for life that they can't outlive. And so I want to do is share that concept with you and the 2 simple steps you can take in relation to that concept, and then ultimately what you need to do next to make something happen for you in your situation, and really why you should do that. So the concept is really about this here, a traffic signal, red, yellow, and green. And the reason we did this is because the reality is not all assets are created equal, and the IRS looks at those assets and treats them all differently. And so let me first explain this concept to you to get started. First of all, assets that are treated differently. There are some that are treated as red assets, which means they're taxed 2 times or more. Then there's yellow assets, and the IRS looks at those and they tax those assets 1 time. And then there's green assets that are taxed not at all. So obviously the key is to move red assets into green assets, move yellow assets as much as possible into a green asset, or at least reduce the amount of tax or minimize the amount of tax paid in a yellow asset. And so one concept that we're not going to talk about here but automatically applies into a red asset is estate taxes, state estate taxes, and inheritance taxes. And so if you're an individual in north of $4 million, you should be thinking about and considering whether or not your estate at that level is going to receive that kind of tax in addition to the other taxes. So a little more complex, but you should know whether or not you're being pushed into that area. So what most folks, most millionaires, even those that are worth over 5 million, say, what can I do to reduce the amount of yellow tax that I pay on my assets that are helping me with my life? And so there's a lot of confusion around this. And so we know that this concept has really helped a lot of people. And so here's the 2 simple steps around this concept to help you. And the first step you need to take is first of all, you should know the color. Know the color of your assets. So know the color of your retirement assets. Those are tax deferred assets, but you should know the color of those assets, retirement, IRA, 401k, 403b, Roth. How is the government treating those assets now, even though they're being tax deferred, and how would they be treated later, both based on your current net worth and potential future net worth? You should kind of know how that would happen. And you should not assume anything. So a lot of folks just say, well, there's nothing else I can do about it. Well, you should really know those assets. You should know your how your personal residence is being treated, a second home, a rental property, land that you own, and then also your investments. If you have investments in all different kinds of regular investments, alternative investments, gold, silver, all of those, you should know how each of those are being treated by the government and whether they're being treated green, yellow, or red, and what you can do about it. So know the color of your assets. Most people don't, but you can know. And some people would say, well, you can't really know anyway, right? Yeah, well, you can. So you should know those things. So here's the second piece, the second step in the process. What should you do differently? Once you know the color of your assets, once you understand the present situation that you're in, what should you now do differently than you've done in the past? So for instance, a lot of people maxed out the funding on their traditional IRA account, and that's great, but should you continue to do that? I don't know. You should be thinking, can I and should I do something differently that would enhance the tax efficiency of my assets? Because ultimately, I want to make sure my assets are positioned in such a way that I can have income for life that I can't outlive, which is an achievable goal. So someone might say, well, should I pay off my house? Well, don't I get a tax benefit by having a mortgage on the house? Well, you do, but should you also pay it off? Because no matter what your net worth is, several folks that have high income and high net worth and have been told not to pay off their house. Well, there's a lot of reasons, not just tax reasons, but also psychological reasons to go ahead and do that. Should I carry mortgages on a second home or rental properties or investment properties? Should I do that? Well, you should know what you maybe did in the past is maybe not what you should do going forward. So when people come to us and into our presentations, seminars, and a personal meeting with myself or my business partner, Scott Noble, and they ask us, we've been told there's really nothing else I can do. I should pay my taxes just like everyone else. Well, that's fine. If you're like everyone else, you should do what everyone else does. If you're a millionaire, you're different than everyone else, and you should do things differently. So I know that doesn't mean millionaires today don't, no matter their net worth, don't really feel all that wealthy anymore. But let me put that into a workable framework for you. Put 100 Americans in a room. Of those 100 Americans, maybe 5 have a net worth of $1 million. 2, maybe 3 have a net worth of $5 million. And not even a third of one person out of that 100 would have a net worth of $10 million or more. So you kind of think about where you stand and where you're at in terms of your net worth and how different you really are. You really are different. So you should do things differently. So first of all, step number 1 is know the color of your assets. Have clear, simple, plain language answers to this step. Step number 2, what should you do differently? You should know very clearly, very precisely what you should do differently with every single asset in your estate and when you should take those actions now or in the future, or maybe this needs to happen first or that needs to happen first, and you should have that kind of conversation. So if you're watching this video right now and thoughts are going through your head that says, I don't know, just like most people do when they come talk to us and have a conversation with us about their personal situation or come to one of our presentations, maybe say, I don't know. So Barry, what should I do next? So first thing you should do next is get a second opinion. If you have a heart issue and you keep going to the same doctor and you keep having the heart issue and you don't get a different result from going to that same doctor, what would you do? You would go see someone else, right? You get a second opinion. Why would you continue having the same symptoms and not do something differently? So the first thing is go see someone else to get a second opinion. If you have any questions or don't know very clearly and plainly where you stand as it relates to these 2 steps. And the big item that you should do, in fact, the biggest next step, most important next step to do is go see a specialist. Go find someone who has a proprietary process that works specifically with someone like you who can help you understand your situation in plain language, simple concepts that presents frameworks that make sense to you, that help you see things in a new way that you can understand very easily. And you should go see a specialist. A specialist is someone who involves themselves in your concerns, your issues, allows you to talk more than they talk, and then helps you make sense of it in ways that you can understand. So that's what you should do next. Take these 2 simple steps. Go see a specialist who can help you think through these things in a deeper way so that you know that you will have income for life that you cannot live from the assets you have and the assets you're building up over your lifetime. So until next time, I hope this is helpful and valuable, and we'll see you again. Thanks.